Students, in our earlier session, if you recollect, we were discussing about what are the different ways of managing the risk or reducing the risk. Not to, try to eliminate entire risk. There are better ways of managing risk using derivatives, or if you are buying in the market, changing your limit orders. So different type of ways of managing the risk, particularly in financial sector, like going for insurance. In this session, we will learn what are the other techniques of managing within the organization. In my earlier session, I was telling you have to take into account all the departments, like purchase, sales, R&D, HR. Then you can't go to different departments and go on personally having a discussion. Instead, we prepare what is known as checklist. We prepare questionnaire. Okay, in a particular department, how many times there was a, let's say there is a UPS. How many times there was a breakdown? How many times the machine breakdown was there? What are the reasons? Particularly the people who are working with that, they will be in a better position to identify those problems, when it happened, how many times it happened, what could be the probable reason. You can't go on talking to every employee. So generally, what enterprises do, they prepare known as checklist. Checklist, when you are operating, what are the things that you have to ensure? Okay, number one, number two. Similarly, if you want to find out what happened, let's say in the last 6 months, you can write a questionnaire. There they can answer briefly. They can do some close end questions, open end, like conducting surveys, research. You prepare a questionnaire. You find out what are the problems that has occurred. So for this, FPIS, known as Final Draft International Standard, I was mentioning, there are so many agencies. This is one of the agency which has come out with a standard format for use of checklist, use of questionnaire. Next comes brainstorming session. What is brainstorming? Let's say all young, energetic, a lot of innovative, creative ideas, and there is a meeting. And in the meeting they discuss these are the problems that occurred last year. Do you have any idea? Maybe some of you will give your own ideas. It is brainstorming, and you call all the employees. It may be a workshop. It may be a workshop specifically for risk management. So in the brainstorming session, you come across with a lot of innovative, creative ideas. So all these techniques are described here in a small chart. In the left first column, you see techniques. In the second column, uh, what exactly it means. A brief description is given. You have to read this later on leisurely. But anyway, we'll just discuss quickly. Number one, questionnaire and checklist. I've already told you what it is. I've already explained colloquial language for your particularly according purpose to write the assignment or examination. You have to use appropriate words. What do you mean by questionnaire? It is a use of structured questionnaire. Structured and checklist to collect information that will assist with the recognition of the significant risk. So if it is a minor risk, perhaps it's easy to analyze. But suppose it is a very big risk, very hazard. What you taking all the probabilities into account, you accordingly prepare a questionnaire that is a structured questionnaire. Then workshops and brainstorming with all the people, all your employees, hold a meeting as soon as a workshop, and they come out with you put all these questions, and they will also share what happened, how it happened. That is known as workshop. There, all the people will participate, and they will come out with their maybe sometimes good implemental ideas also. Third one is certain things which will not work only through questionnaire workshop. You have to go and actually inspect and conduct the audit. So let's say there is some financial loss, some fraud has taken place. Nobody is going to give the answer. They themselves don't know it has happened. So you have to inspect what is the process, the documents. That is why all companies are audited statutorily, not only from this point of view, from accuracy point of view, and sometimes when I use the word statutory, it is compulsory according to regulatory authority. So So inspections have to be done, particularly physical uh, damages. And physical inspection has to be done. Then I was mentioning you have to document any type of this. So you can prepare a flow chart, how the process takes place, what is the steps you have to follow. In analysts of the process and operations, they identify critical components and accordingly they draw what is known as flow chart. Then the next 2 points are ASAP and FMEA. What is ASAP? Yes, for hazards, operability studies, hazards and operability studies, and FMEA, failure modes, effects analysis. Failure mode. How this failure? It may be a failure of the machine mode, and what are its effects? Analysis is just in abbreviation you have to remember. Lastly, very very important. It is done even if you are a marketing students, it has been done in your first section itself. First semester SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is done even for your own personal SWOT analysis. Your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities, threats, and it is done for the enterprise as a whole. What are the strength of this enterprise? What are its unique selling proportions, and do they have can can't say nobody has some weakness. Irrespective of the fact that we are most efficient, still we may have some weakness personally. Similarly, the company may have some loopholes, some gaps. That is known as weakness. Third one is what are the opportunities are available? How I can I tap this potential available? Then what are the threats? Threats from your immediate competitors, those competitors, and how they are selling, let's say, um, at a lower cost than what you are doing. So now what you are charging for it. So all these opportunities, threats from the it may be newcomers also, it may be existing competitors also. That is known as SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And larger scale, we go for HAZL analysis. This is done particularly for the sector as a whole, for the company, for the country as a whole. HAZL analysis. Remember, P stands for political analysis, E stands for economic analysis, S stands for social, T stands for technological, and L stands for legal, and finally environmental. Now, I'm being a banker, I have worked in a bank for over 30 years. Believe me, we do this analysis for any new project. We also use that NPV, IRR, which I told you in the earlier session. But then whether this project is economically feasible, financially viable, economically viable. What are the, supposing you are exporting to some country or importing to some country, what are the political risks? And then similarly, what impact your project will have on society as a whole, the social and technological risks involved. Supposing you have borrowed some technology which is let's say a decade old, obsolete. So then, what are the risks involved? Then whether you are compared with all legal requirements, regulatory requirements, and what impact your product or process will have on the environment. You must be knowing a lot of debate is going on environmental issues. So these are the type of analysis we are expected to do this. We have already explained checklist, questionnaires. Sometimes what happens in the brainstorming session, some senior person like me, I may dominate, others may not come out with all their ideas. Certainly, all these ways have some limitations. Like, for example, a questionnaire, it may be time consuming. Now, as I already told you, some senior people may dominate. Identifying factors of risk factors, contributing factors may not be possible for all. Only few people may be able to do this. So these are some of the uh, limitations, I can say that, with this technique. But still, it is worth trying because you have to quantify the risk ultimately. If you want to know what is the amount of risk involved, you have to follow this method. Um, it is also operational risk management, particularly for financial institutions. we do conduct not only workshops, as I've already mentioned, we continuously conduct training programs also. Okay. The last paragraph I already told you the disadvantage can be that more senior people in the room may dominate the conversation. If you are a junior person, you don't feel like even though you may be having some very valid point because some senior people are there, open up your this is one of the disadvantage of brainstorming session where people may not openly come out. But then all that these are the ways, techniques used by enterprises, financial institutions world over. I think this session was pretty simple, not much of technicals involved. Well, we'll meet again. Students, so far we have discussed so much on risk, how to identify risk, how to measure the risk, how to analyze the risk, what type of tools have to be employed, what type of ways are available, what are the approaches. There is so much to learn about risk management. And some of the best ways is to map the map that severity or the likelihood of happening. This is known as risk magnitude. In this session, I will be showing you one small diagram because it's all mapped. This mapping is one of the best ways. It's also known as risk matrices. So we'll have some discussion today on what is risk magnitude and uh, what is the severity and likelihood. What is severity? Severity means how severe it is, how big it is, and whether the impact of this particular risk, if it happens, what will be the outcome. So based on outcome, we calculate what is how severe it is, you know, how how uh, how big it is, or how small it is, how big or how severe, how dangerous. Let us say how dangerous this particular risk is, and what is the likelihood of this event taking place. So we are putting in, put it in a metric. That metrics I will show you. We can take, some period should be there. Okay, in the last 1 year, how many times it happened, how severe it was, what was its outcome, what was its negative outcome. General risk very rarely positive outcome. So all these things are shown by way of matrix. Sometimes it is also referred as I already told, risk matrix and mapping. Sometimes these maps are also colored based on, let's say, very dangerous. Maybe we may color in the red, and if it is just very low severity and low likelihood, then maybe you can put it in a green color. They are also colored. Very simple matrix. Just closely observe this. What is that we have done in x-axis? Likelihood of happening an event. What is that we have shown in y-axis, vertical axis? Horizontal is x and vertical is y. I'm not mentioned as x and y, but generally, that is how horizontal is x and vertical is y. Now again, this is equally distributed into four boxes equally. So if you see the dots, the first one, the left lowest, the left lowest, no likelihood, no magnitude. That means the likelihood of happening that event is very less. Even if it happens, the severity, its outcome is also low. So low likelihood, no magnitude. Just go up on again left side only. So we have considered low. Then if you go up, is still in the, let's say if you take this, 0 to 10, 5, it is still between 0 and 5 only. Likelihood is low, but quite possible the severity may be high. So low likelihood, high magnitude, the impact may be severe. Once you understand all these things, then what has to be done, how it has to be addressed, I will tell you. Then come to right side. What is right side? It is more than 5. 0 to 5, then 5 to 10. It is between 5 and 10. It is between 5 and 10. That is high likelihood. The chances of happening, the probability is very high, highly likely. But then severity, its impact may be low. But if you go up, high likelihood, high magnitude. Now, if you just by using your common sense, tell me which one you would like to attack first. High likelihood, high magnitude. Oh my God, this is the one which is going to happen, and it is very severe. And my God, its impact will be very severe. Losses will be very high. So then you, because you have plotted, actually based on let's say historical happenings, you have plotted. So now, based on this, low likelihood, low magnitude, it's okay. Likelihood is very less, only 2% of probability of happening. All right, you may take chances, but still, I told it is well within your tolerable level. This appetite, if it is not tolerable level, you have to treat it. You remember those 4 T's which I covered? Tolerate, treat, transfer, terminate. So it's okay, no likelihood. And even if you go up, left, top, there also no likelihood, but in case it happens, let's say it's a fire in the factory, the entire factory will be burned. Now, let's say you have already taken all, the firefighting machines are there, and even if fire happens, nothing, I can't say nothing will lost. Maybe the loss will be very less. So if you plot and put all these things based on your experience, or maybe based on experience of other employees also, you'll be in a better position to attack whatever I have already explained colloquially. This has been written here. I can read it out because I already explained. The vertical axis, that is some side vertical one, used to indicate magnitude. The word magnitude is used rather than severity. I have already used the word severity of severity, so that the same style of risk map can be used for different type of hazards, for control, and for opposite risk. I told the risk need not necessarily be a loss, it may be opposite also. The severity implies that if the event is undesirable and if it is related to hazard risk, how it has to be attacked. Now, figure 2 to 1, that likelihood against the magnitude of event. However, the more important consideration for risk manager is not the severity, not the magnitude, what would be its outcome, what would be its impact, what would be its consequences, how much I may lose, how much it may damage. The outcome is more important. Here some examples are given. A large fire could occur that completely destroys a warehouse or a factory, distribution, logistics company. Although magnitude of the event may be large, supposing the company has already taken, some preventive plans, not curative. Curative means comes later. Preventive. It's already produced plans to cope with such an event. The impact on the business may be less because you already taken some preventive controls, preventive measures. The magnitude of an event may be considered to be inherent level. The impact can be considered to be the risk management level. Okay. It can also be used to indicate the likely risk control mechanism. What type of mechanism? Just now we were talking about fire. So for fire control, you have to put, let's say, firefighting machines in every room wherever possible. So what type of control mechanism you can use based on this? I have already told you the color coding is often used depending upon the severity, so that the visual representation will be very very clear. This can be used, for example, as I mentioned, the merger between Delta and Northwest Airlines. So whether it is risk involved in merger, risk involved in takeover, or acquisitions, or opening of new branches, or expansion of business, everywhere this can be used, and accordingly we can will be in a better position to analyze the risk involved, the consequence involved, the severity involved, and how it has to be addressed. I hope it is very clear, particularly if you observe the matrix concept is very clear. Well, students, you can. Now, earlier session students, we were talking about this matrix be plotted, and this matrix can be prepared, can be colored also, uh, low severity and low likelihood, high likelihood, low severity, and high likelihood and high severity. So when you have to attack, this type of risk events, so that we can either prevent, or even if it has already happened, to what extent you can reduce the impact in terms of money, or in terms of damage, or in terms of accidents. So there are two aspects now to manage the risk. One is it possible to prevent the loss? Is it possible to prevent the event? That is preventive measures. Next, in the curative, what you can do, to what extent you can limit the damage. So here our focus will be, first of all, to prevent the loss. If the loss has already occurred, and how you can limit the damage. Loss prevention is concerned with preventing the losses occurring, or at least reducing the likelihood of losses occurring. Damage limitation is reducing the amount of damage. To what extent it has damaged maybe assets, or maybe if it is health concerns of the employees. In this session, we will be taking example of let us say fire occurs. There is a fire. Supposing the fire doors and fire shutters, you have put it you have put in such a way that even if fire flames come, it will not come out of, let's say, out of that room. The furniture that you use, fire resistant. I'm only just visualizing. There are different type of methods how to reduce that damage. Finally, we must also look into account, particularly I as a banker, for anything that you do, the first and foremost activity that we do is cost benefit analysis. Then the cost incurred should not be more than the damage, if at all, that has happened. So cost is a very, very important aspect. Supposing the preventive measure request, let us say, 1 million, and the amount of loss could have been 0.5 million, why at all I should go for the preventive measure? Maybe I should go for better alternative. So in loss prevention, damage limitation, the most important aspect is cost. How much cost it would incur, if at all you want to minimize the impact of the loss. For example, in my earlier examples I mentioned, supposing they are using some chemical which is very hazardous, what is the alternative? Find out. Of course, you have to use the chemical. See whether that you can use the chemical which will have less impact, even presuming that the event takes place. For example, for buildings which are vulnerable, exposed to fire, you can detect, see, are there any areas where some sources of ignition are there. So because of that ignition, the fire may extend to other buildings also. So can you reduce that sources of ignition? Then supposing, can you put notice board, no smoking? You would have already observed this, no smoking. Even sometimes in such very vulnerable area, smoking also may cause fire. Um, for example, the third example given is a sprinkler system. Supposing the fire has already happened, whether the sprinkler system, water sprinkler system, would reduce the damage, would reduce the impact, particularly if there are so many buildings nearby. We have taken only one example. There are various examples how the damage takes place. Not necessarily with fire. It may be uh, for example, dust which may cause allergy to your employees. So how to uh, eliminate the sources of that dust? I was talking about fire ignition. Here it may be health hazard. So for that health hazard, how you can take some preventive measures. Um, Another example given here you have seen. See, suppose you say that you are producing some product where cyanide is used. Cyanide is very dangerous to your health. So of course that is your business. You can't shut down your business. Can there be some cyanide antidotes in factories where chromium plating activities are taking place? You have to use cyanide, but can there be some cyanide antidotes? Suppose you take if you take it as a preventive control measure, the damage can be limited. These are some of the measures which are thought over as preventive and control measures, and even in case the event takes place, how to reduce the loss of not only asset, it may be loss of employees also, it may be accident also. So this matrix which I discussed in the earlier session will help you to identify which has got more severity and which impact will be more in terms of money, in terms of damage to assets, in terms of undesirable effects on the health and safety of your workers. I hope this is clear. This is a very very simple concept involved how to reduce the damages, how to prevent such happenings. Particular reference to, for example, fire or chemical, etc. Well, we'll continue in the next session. Welcome, students. In one of the sessions, we are discussing when it comes to risk management, it is applicable to the entire organization as a whole, wherein we refer it as enterprise risk management. Within the ERM, that is enterprise risk management, each project, we have to take into account for managing the risk. When I say each project right from the initiation stage till the end stage. End stage means when the project is completed. All the stages you have to consider so that at what stage some risk may happen and how to prevent that. At the time of planning itself, you have to take into account each stage, what is the process involved, what type of probability of any such event that may happen, which may result in loss or damage. So risk management not only applies to the ERM as a whole, it applies to the each project that we undertake. So for that, it is very essential you must understand what is PLC, project life cycle. So definition wise, the project is a set of activities which have a definite start and finish. For a project to get accomplished, it needs to pass through various phases known as the project life cycle. What are those phases? We'll have a quick look. To start with, initiation. Just initiated. I would like to start a new project, or I would like to take a new project from somebody. Then you have to plan what are the activities involved. Then how those activities has to be executed. And at the time of execution of the uh, activities, how this has to be monitored, who will be monitoring, and how this controlling will be done. And then once it is closed, how it has to be reviewed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 phases are there. This has been shown in a pictorial manner. In one of my earlier sessions, session also I have shown you this, but then the context was different. We are talking about risk management. Here we must also understand each stage. So start with the upper one. You can see that initiation process, then comes planning, then comes execution, then comes monitoring and control, then closing up the process. This is known as project life cycle. Why we should know? We are talking about risk management. But every stage there may be different type of risk may arise. That is the reason why you must know at each stage what type of events, undesirable events may happen. For example, here that was a specific example. Uh, the concept, goal, and objective of doing the project are defined. In the beginning, we define what are the goals, what are the objectives, what is that you are going to achieve by undertaking this project, and they appoint project manager and whatever supportive staff, etc. Then they plan the project. What are the knowledge areas, technical, financial, managerial? What are the areas which has to be focused? Who will be managing this? The entire project will be planned. Then once it is planned, it is a actual execution. Who will do this? Who will be in charge of a particular department? What are the deliverables? And what is the quality expected? What are the standard expected? What is the parameters? That is entire flow chart during execution. Entire flow chart for operations is shown. Then of course it is monitored and controlled also, so that everything is going according to plan. And whatever deliverables, the final products, to whom it has to be delivered, if it's a product, if it's a service, when it has to be delivered, all these things are monitored. Once this is over, yes, your project is over. Finally, you will overall project deliverables, whether it's over, whether it is handed over, no complaints, it has been given to the client. And during the project, what are the lessons learned, what type of problems were there, you have to identify, analyze, and if at all there were any risks which you have already managed, you have to learn a lesson, so that for the next project you'll be in a better position to understand what are the threats and opportunities. This I already covered in the beginning. Threats means negative risk, and opportunities means there will be some positive impact. I've repeatedly told, risk does not necessarily mean a loss. There may be some good opportunities also. Using those opportunities, you can gain also. Okay. So for managing the risk properly, you need to identify all type of risk, right from initiation till close, and its impact on the project during the whole project life. Then the list should be analyzed. The risks of when they are identified, then in the list you have to prepare accordingly. Each risk has to be addressed. Which approach, which tool will be better for that, and whatever the contingency plans to address unexpected happenings. You have to have plan A, plan B, some what you call contingency reserves. Maybe you need some more money. You have to keep some reserves in terms of labor, material, management. Okay, so that is how you complete the project. This can be analyzed properly, and here please read this BEAT. Please read the best occasion plan. What will be the best plan you can read. If you plan this risk management activities right from the beginning, right from initiation, and till the project is closed, so that it will not come as an unpleasant surprise. Some undesirable event has happened. So when you plan the risk management, you have to plan for the entire project life cycle. Just repeat, right from initiation stage to till all the products are services deliverable, so the project is closed. This is known as PLC, popularly project life cycle. This is very simple concept. I hope all of you understood. Thank you.